Okay, so it's time for me to start working on the hatch. And so I've kind of cleaned these up and taken all of the saw marks and sanded them and whatnot. And so the next thing I need to do is I need to start building the seals. And the way this thing is going to work is, and this will become a lot more apparent once I actually start putting it together. It's a little hard to understand right now. But there'll be another sheet of plywood in here, a half-inch sheet of plywood that sticks up, and then that will go up into a groove in the hatch part, and that's where the seal will be. So it makes a labyrinth, so water can't work its way onto the inside. So the first thing I needed to do is I needed to create a template. So out of a piece of underlayment, I cut a template that will fit in here. And what I'm doing is I'm just transferring this template then to half-inch plywood, and I'm going to cut that out. And then that half-inch plywood will glue to the side here, and that's what we'll make that seal with. Now that that's rough cut out, what I will do is I'll attach the template to it, and then I'll use a router to route it to final shape. Okay, so what I've done is I have clamped the template underneath here. So what I'll do is just take the router, adjust it so the bearing will run on this this template underneath, and it should trim this off to the shape of the template. Okay, I got them all cut out, so let's try and fit them. Pretty close. I'll need a little trim on this side, but pretty close. Okay, now that I've got my side pieces here cut to shape, I'm going to take the template and I'm going to trim it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this off right here. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. When I first read about this method in Steve Frederick's shop guide, it didn't make sense to me either, and it took me a while to figure it all out, but I think it's going to work real well, and it'll become apparent what I'm doing here once I start assembling it, and you'll understand how it's all going to go together. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and cut these so you can see how I cut them and how I do the offsets and whatnot, and then like I said, when I put it together, it'll start making sense. Okay, so what I've got is I've got my trim bit run out as far as it'll go, and so the bearing will run along this, and that'll trim that off flush with this surface here. Okay, that's all trimmed off. I'll just sand it a little bit and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, I've got my router set up to make the cuts, and what I've done is I've used the same trick that I used before when I was doing the doors. Basically turned one of my guide bushings around, so this is actually the lock ring. I wrapped it this time. Last time I used tape and it didn't work very well, so this time I used a little bit of Teflon tape for plumbing type tape, and we'll see if that works any better. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cut an offset of a 1/2 inch, and so I want a 1/4 inch groove with an offset of a 1/2 inch, and this will be the tongue that goes up into the seal for sealing this door, or this hatch rather. So there you can see what I'm going for. So I'll go ahead and make the second cut. That should cut it off. Okay, so there it's cut out. There's the tongue, and then this is a pattern for a spacer that goes, a 3/4 inch spacer that goes in the top, and this is actually where the rubber will attach that will seal up against this tongue. Okay, now that I've got these side panels done, what I need to do is I need to make a spacer, and so this is an 1/8 inch spacer, and this is just 1/8 inch scrap that I have. So I put this on top and I traced it out. I'll take it over to the bandsaw and roughly cut this out and then route it to shape. Okay, so here are the inside panels that I've just glued in. You see I've got them propped in by some boards here. So here's what it looks like. Hopefully you can see this, but here's that 1/2 inch plywood. There's 1/8 inch plywood spacer right here. It's flush with the surface of the side here. And so this will actually be the tongue that goes up into the groove. This is part of the seal for the hatch. So we'll just let that set up, and then we'll get on to the next thing.